Hey, everybody, welcome to Films and Fermentation, episode 90. That's right, we are Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We're just three friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit faced. Tonight's episode, episode 90, which continues our fifth season of doing Films and Fermentation, was Mike's idea. This episode is most paused movie scenes. In doing the research, we've come to the conclusion that there were way too many scenes to talk about in one episode. So for this episode, we picked out a few to discuss, and we figured we'll save some of the other ones for a later episode, and I could get some feedback from you guys out there as to what scenes we should make sure we include next time around. So in this episode, sometimes you just need a closer look. That's why God invented the pause button. In this episode, we're going to take a deep dive into part one of the most paused scenes in movie history. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. We are looking for show suggestions, drink suggestions, hypothetical questions we can answer on the show, or just some general comments that you'd like to send us. Or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation for all of our social media and podcast links, as well as links to our storefront on Teespring where you can purchase our merchandise, or our link on Patreon if you'd like to support the show. This episode, as usual, is brought to you by Dubby All Natural Energy Drink. Dubby is an all natural energy drink. It uses a patented all natural coffee cherry extract to help fuel you. This ingredient is what gives Dubby its laser focus and fast reflexes, making it perfect for gamers everywhere. Dubby contains important amino acids and vitamins that canned energy drinks simply do not have. Dubby never uses fillers or artificial colors. It's a sugar-free and keto-friendly alternative energy drink. Choose from flavors such as Dragonade, Beach and Peach, and Galaxy Grenade. Guaranteed to boost energy without giving you the jitters. Go to dubby.gg to order today. Use the promo code FILMSFERMENT and receive 10% off every order every time. Dubby, be better.
Dubby!
.gg. All right, gentlemen, what are we drinking this evening? I'll go first.
Who wants to go first?
Since we're not all volunteering right away. I actually decided to go with the theme drink this evening, since one of our paused movies is a horror film of some renown. I am drinking this mixed drink of blue curacao, agave tequila, and lime juice, otherwise known as the Exorcist. The Exorcist cocktail.
Ooh.
I think it's supposed to be a little bit more green.
Maybe a little bit.
I think I put too much curacao in it. That's why Katie wasn't enjoying kissing me earlier. I just tasted like orange liqueur. I definitely put too much lime juice in it.
Well, I know how you feel
That's bitter.
because I started off with the Lemonade Smash by Devil's Backbone, and that is sour. Ooh,
Like tart.
quite tart.
I guess you're not on call this week, huh?
No, sir. That is.
I'm also working from home tomorrow, which is awesome.
Oh, lucky. I got
Just
a half
going
day
up to
tomorrow,
Newtown.
but
I'm
Still,
working from home because
still
the
gotta
kids
go
are
in.
off. The teachers are having a work day, so I get to work from home. So.
Nice.
Kev, what are you drinking this evening?
I
He's on
am
call.
going. I'm going with Sam Adams Golden Pilsner, crisp and refreshing, lightly hopped. And I've had one of these before, and I'll tell you, they are not very lightly hopped. They're actually quite hoppy, but they're not bad. They're not bad. So I got a variety pack not long ago. When family came over, and I'm working my way through the variety pack, my brother-in-law was gracious enough to give me some of his Jacko pumpkin ale. So I've been working through that, and it's, taking me back to the fall. I really like that. So
What's
starting
the,
with this and moving on.
Is the Pilsner part of like the winter pack?
It is, yeah. I was kind of they replaced the winter lager. It's the Cold Snap, their original Boston lager, their Pilsner, and a pine
The pine tree one.
Alpine. Yes, The Alpine one. Mm-hmm.
Not a big fan of the Alpine one.
No.
I don't know if I've had the Pilsner. I'm not sure if I had that.
It's
Because
okay.
usually, like you said, they used to have the winter lager one in there.
Mm-hmm.
I usually get that.
I like the Cold Snap. I like the winter lager. I'm all right with the original Boston lager. I forget what the third one was, but it's okay. It's a little hoppy. It's 5% alcohol by volume. So,
Michael, do you have a history lesson for us this evening?
This day in film history. This day in film history in 1940, the Three Stooges film "You Nazi Spy" about the Nazis released with the disclaimer: "Any resemblance between the characters in this picture and any person, living or dead, is a miracle."
All right. So when I saw that this is one of your facts for today, I was like, I don't remember this episode too much. I'm gonna watch this. I actually watched it during my lunch break today because it was only like it's only like a 20 minutes short. So I was like, oh, I could kill that during my lunch. And man, it was a weird episode. So it's about a country called Moronica that was at peace for so long that the weapons manufacturers weren't making any money anymore. So they decided to manufacture a war in order to make money. And so they named Mo, Larry, and Curly the co-dictators of Moronica. The
Makes
first thing that Mo does is accidentally put some grease under his nose to make him look like Hitler. Larry or Curly is the Minister of Defense. He's got like awards, like the medals all over his jacket, and then he turns around in one scene and there's medals all over the back of his jacket too. And the whole thing is them like they start this war to make money, and then they start getting like carried away. It was so like bizarre. Like it was like kind of making a statement about Nazis,
Right.
but at the same time was just like really like I don't know how to describe it. It's so weird.
So
and then they get eaten by lions at the end.
So I get Mo, make looking like Hitler. Was Curly supposed to be not Stalin, Mussolini?
I guess because he was kind of dressed like him because he had
He
like
was the very
deal.
Okay.
And Larry was the minister of propaganda, so he would have been like Goebbels.
Japan.
Yeah, Japan. I think he would have been like what's his name, the second in command, Goebbels.
Oh yes,
yeah. So I think it was something like it was so weird though. But like talking about paused scenes, I had to pause it at one point because they're looking at a map on the episode, and the map is a map of the continent that their country is part of. So the country is Moronica, which is right in the middle of South Starvania. And the other countries in this continent are Aspirin, Hangover, Dazzle Lake and Razzle Lake, Jinrikia, Vamica, Bologna, Double Crossia, and then there's a hold on a sec, Double Crossia, and then they have like names of the oceans and the seas around the country. So it's the Look Sea, the Sea of Biscuit, the Bay of Rum, the Bay of Window, and then the country right below them is called Mickey Finland.
Mickey Finland.
Yeah. So I was like, I had to pause it so I could see the name of all the countries in this continent. It is a weird episode.
Yeah.
So, Mike, you got a couple more for us, right?
I do. In 1992, the Nature Boy, Ric Flair, became the WWF champion at the Royal Rumble, and Roddy Piper beats the Mountie to become the WWF Intercontinental Champ.
I got an addendum to that fact, Mike, because we're wrestling guys.
Yeah.
I think it was about 10 to 15 years later when Ric Flair and Roddy Piper won the tag team championship belts together on Raw. And what's your last fact you got there?
In 2001, cult film Donnie Darko, written and directed by Richard Kelly, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, premieres at the Sundance Film Festival.
One of the strangest films I've ever watched.
It is strange, but it is intriguing. I do. If it comes on and I haven't seen it in a while, I'll watch it.
I think you could probably say the first time that the rabbit shows up is like a paused scene,
Hmm.
probably. What's the rabbit's name? Is it Frank?
I think
Was it
so.
Frank? I think it was Frank. I don't remember. It's been a while since I watched it too, but I think it was Frank that only. Yeah. What's your fun drink fact for this evening, there, Mike?
One drink. Oh, here we go. That's another one of those must-try beers. This one is Sunshine Pilsner by, what's it? Trogs. Independent Brewing, Hershey, PA.
Oh, Trogs.
Trogs, yep.
Trogs, yeah.
Made in the style of the classic Bohemian Pilsner, Sunshine is all about quality ingredients and a soft balance. Old World Saz hops beat Golden Pilsner malt for a pale, clear 4.5% alcohol by volume. A clean carpet of white foam blasts on the surface with new mown hay, grass, and orange blossom honey in the aroma. Flavors are malt forward with more than a light honey sweetness, but a moderate bitterness. This flagship pills from the renowned craft brewery is available year-round. So there's no excuse not to discover its clean, simply purify on your own. There you
So,
go.
like, when you said Sunshine Pilsner, I was like, okay, sounds familiar. And then you said Trogs. I'm like, well, I've definitely had Trogs before.
Yeah.
But I apparently have not had the Sunshine Pilsner before. I just looked it up on Untapped. Either I forgot to record it or I really have never had it.
Well, I know we all knew the brewery. I don't think
I
I've
knew the
had it
brewery,
yet
yeah.
either.
According to Untapped, some of the friends I have on Untapped who have tried it have given it an average rating of like a 3.25.
Hmm.
Just okay.
That's
I
okay.
also have not tried it.
Yeah. Put that on the to-do list.
Mhm.
Well, it is a must try according to the calendar.
This is a must try. All right.
Yes.
Notes from last show. Here's our synopsis according to Glip. Uh, so last episode was the Remembering Robin Williams episode. After listening to it, I do have to say it was a very good episode. Like you said, Mike, it didn't go off the rails as much as you thought it did.
Yeah.
But it was still a really good episode nonetheless. And I thought some of the clips that I added into the episode really, worked out well. And we got some good feedback from it on Good Pods and some of the other sites.
Mhm.
But according to Glip, the description of that episode is the participants talked about amazing acceptance speeches, early usage of special effects, treatment of transsexual characters, dramatic scenes with a little spark of madness, and a big fan of okra.
It's all about me, boys. It's all about me.
It's all about the okra. In an entire episode of Robin Williams was not mentioned once in the Glip synopsis. I have a movie recommendation for you if you have not seen it yet. And I actually posted this on Twitter earlier. Just finished watching The Menu. You haven't seen it yet? You should. It's a movie that I was kind of intrigued about when I first saw the trailer for it because I like Ray Fiennes, I like Anya Taylor Joy. Nick Holt is in it, who played Beast in the newer X-Men films. John Leguizamo is in it. And then there was an actress. Like every time her face flashed on the screen, I was like, I know this actress. Where the hell have I seen this lady before? And I looked it up, and it was Judith Light from Who's the Boss. She plays one of the restaurant patrons, and I was like, wow, Judith Light. It is funny, darkly funny because it is a dark comedy and twisted, man, like a really twisted. So Ray Fiennes plays a chef who owns this really, really high class restaurant that is so exclusive. The only way to eat there is to pay an exorbitant price for the food and sail on a boat to a private island where the restaurant is located. So when these people get there, there's only like a dozen people eating at this restaurant. and each course is fancier than the last and comes with this like big production that Ray Fiennes comes out and gives a speech and like a little backstory on the dish and why he's serving it to them, and each dish gets more theatrical, and then also towards the end of the movie, each dish becomes more and more sinister. So like really like increasingly sinister things start happening, and it's so good. Like I don't want to ruin it or spoil it, but it turns out to be like a really fun movie. Anya Taylor Joy is great in it. Ray
Mhm.
Fiennes is chewing up as much scenery as he is food in the film. He is really enjoying himself, and it's a very like underplayed performance for like John Leguizamo. He's kind of like he's in the movie because he's sitting in the restaurant with everybody, but his character is kind of like minimal. But it was, I mean, it's really entertaining. I would definitely recommend you check it out, and it is available right now on HBO Max. And Kevin, you have a movie avoidance.
I do have a movie avoidance, and um, I'm a sucker for superhero movies.
Mm-hmm. We all are.
I'm a DC fan at heart. You know, I do love the Marvel universe as well, but I keep hoping for DC to do it right. And it launched on again HBO Max, and I was like, okay, so I'll give this a shot. I'm glad I'm not paying money for it because it didn't intrigue me in the theater or when it came out in theaters to go see it. But I watched Black Adam. It was a tough movie to sit through.
You mean The
And
Rock?
I mean, look, I don't mind The Rock. The Rock can pull some things off, and I know he doesn't have a lot of range, but I can still enjoy a performance by him. But I just maybe it's just the whole. And again, I have to say I don't know Black Adam from Adam. Um, no one got that. But it was so just what's the word I'm looking for? Just blah, I mean, it was so to say scripted, and yeah, it's scripted, but it's like cookie cutter,
Mm-hmm.
the acting was cookie cutter, the premise was cookie cutter. The team that goes to help, and that's Hawkman and Dr. Fate and Atom Smasher, and I'm like, I don't have anything invested in these characters, and they're presented in such a way you're not invested in any of these characters. Even Black Adam, you hear it, the whole intro is just a very long prologue, a narrated prologue, and it's really just blah. It was just so bad that I was like, okay. I'm going to miss Henry Cavill as Superman. I like the little flash of him. I'm not spoiling anything now. Everybody knows
Yeah,
that he
it's
makes a
on
little
YouTube.
appearance.
Yeah.
It's all over
But
the place.
I am going to miss him portraying Superman. But I kind of think that if this is the last movie to wash the plate clean, and to start fresh with
Mm-hmm.
DC, then I'm okay with it.
It's funny, like I was just about to like say that too, and you said the Henry Cavill thing. Like they they went out of their way to make that after credits scene with him
Yeah.
as Superman facing off against Black Adam, only for James Gunn to come out a week later and say, "Well, we're not using Henry Cavill for the new DCEU."
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I know that Matt Reeves is still doing his own Batman, side Batverse or whatever that is.
Mm-hmm.
And him and James Gunn have kind of an agreement that, Matt Reeves will do his thing and it can stay separate from the DCEU. I think that's where they're going now, DCU, not DCEU, but DCU. And they kind of have that agreement in place, so
That
I
was
don't know.
actually one of the hypotheticals we got was should Matt Reeves Batman be part of the DCU?
Mm-hmm. And they've already got the Flash in the can. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
And that's the
It's
one
going
that's
to be a
supposed to
flash in the
have
pan.
Yeah, it's
Flash
that's
in the
also the one
pan.
that's supposed to bring Michael Keaton back as Batman.
Yes, and he was
Flash
supposed to
film.
also have a link to. Was it Batgirl? Yeah, it was Batgirl, right? There was
Yeah,
a.
Batgirl, which
Mhm.
they then dumped after filming the entire movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
They're such
they
a
have no
mess.
clue what they're doing over there. Come on.
I agree with you, Ken. Like I love the Marvel movies. I grew up a
Hmm.
Batman fan.
Yeah.
Like Batman was my favorite comic book growing up. So I've been disappointed by like how
Because
shitty the
Marvel,
DCU's been.
because Marvel makes you feel something for characters you don't even give a shit about, like Guardians of the Galaxy. No one
Yeah,
cared about that comic book.
nobody even knew that comic book.
Right.
Hardly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah, they make you feel something about like these characters that you hardly know anything about. And,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and I just saw the trailer for Ant-Man, the Quantum Mania, and it looks pretty good.
Ooh.
It looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Ready to see Kang. So here's our hypothetical question for this evening. This hypothetical question was submitted by Sarah Cecil Rhodes, who is actually one of the admins on our Good Pods podcast group on Facebook. It's the same podcast group from Good Pods, but we have a Facebook page now as well. And she and Austin Boyer are one of the admins for it. And she gave us this hypothetical question. What movie stuck with you long after you first watched it? I didn't even have to think about this one. The first one that popped in my head as soon as I read that question was Schindler's List.
Mm.
Mine would be Godfather.
Godfather.
Godfather. That's good. Oh God, which movies? And we're not saying like, oh, no.
Like
Just
Okay.
stuck with you.
you couldn't stop thinking
Yeah.
about it for a while after you first saw it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. So Schindler's List for me because I saw it in the theater, and
Yeah.
it's one of the weirdest experiences I had because after the film was over, nobody left the theater for a while. It was just quiet.
Hmm.
People were just sitting there during the credits, just like kind of taking in what they just watched.
Yeah.
And that stuck with me for a long time because that was 90 something when that movie came out. But
Yeah.
I would have to say this movie I just talked about, The Menu, has stuck with me since I watched it last night. Like I really want to watch it again because it's kind of like in my head now.
I think I'm leaning towards Saving Private Ryan. You know.
Okay. Yeah,
And
I
I
would
think
agree
the
with that one
reason,
too.
the one, what it sits out with me, I mean, we saw it as a family, which, we were all older, but to see it as a family. And I remember watching it and we're sitting in the row and I'm looking over and my mother is sobbing and weeping for the first 20 minutes, you know, and just to go through the entire movie and to see how well it was done and how touching it was. And just, I don't think I've ever seen that happen before, and yeah, we've seen my mother cry at movies. I've cried at movies, but just to watch that effect within the first 20 minutes of a movie based on how he did it.
I mean, still Spielberg,
Mm.
And I got two other ones that popped in my head just now.
Well, I felt
One,
the same way with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, too. I cried
you
for the
cried
first
after
20
the first
minutes.
20 minutes.
Yeah,
It was so
that's stuck
horrible.
with you for a whole different reason.
I thought of Shawshank Redemption. First time I saw it stuck with me for a little bit especially because I knew nothing about it when I saw it. It was out
Yeah.
in the theater but didn't do well. I watched it on the recommendation of a friend and it stuck with me afterwards. Shawshank Redemption and Reservoir Dogs, which was
Mm.
Quentin Tarantino's first film because it was his first film. I had no idea who he was, and I'd never seen a movie like that before. That
You
was so
know,
like frantic and told out of order and violent and funny at the same time, and that stuck with me.
Yeah.
another one that came to me was The Wrath of Khan. After the debacle of the first one, how good they came out with the second one.
You just love that
Uh,
that
I
Khan!
I love Star Trek all the way around, but you would think after the first one that the whole thing would be shot to shit, but then they come back with the visual on that was just awesome for the time.
The thing that stuck with me after watching The Wrath of Khan, and I'm not knocking it because I love the movie. Chekhov wasn't on the ship when Khan first appeared.
Yeah, I know that too. Yeah.
And B, if the whole thing was a ruse anyway, did he have to scream Khan's name? If it was
Yes,
all
he
an act
did.
anyway.
Yes, he had to sell it. Kirk over
And
film.
as an added fact to that, did they have to do the reverse switcheroo in the new Star Trek version, where Spock yells Khan?
Yeah, well, we've discussed that version already.
The dumbest reveal, the most obvious reveal in movie history that Benedict Cumberbatch was going to be Khan. So that was a good question. So thank you, Sarah, for submitting that to us. We'll pick out some hypotheticals for the next episode and have some fun with that next time around. In the meantime, shout, let it all out. These are the pods we're gonna talk about right now. So here's a shout out. Yeah, shout out to our podcast friends out there who have been giving us support, either by listening to the show, rating the show, giving us some suggestions, whatever it might be. These are our shout outs of the week.
To Wrestling World with Austin Boyer.
Shout out to Manic Pixie Weirdo Podcast.
A very happy podcast anniversary to Mr. Gentleman. Congratulations, bud.
Michael.
Shout out to the people that made our logo, Space Castle.
Shout out to our brothers in arms, teachers by day, nerds by night, the Fandalorians.
Thanks to Today We Laughed and Learned.
I want to give a good congratulations to Jason and Kathy of All Hallows Eve podcast for getting on to Darkcast Network. Stay spooky, my friends.
Thank you to the Voice of Four.
Shout out to DJ Scoob and the Undiscovered Entrepreneur.
I want to say thank you to the Geeky Dad podcast.
Shout out to Stop Thinking with Your Butt.
Shout out Teen Snobs. Thanks again.
I want to thank you, me, and a movie with Donald.
The pizza.
No pizza.
Pizza.
Shout out to the fan in the van.
And a big shout out to Wayne and Recasted 2.0. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Thanks
Gentlemen,
to everybody out there. Like Mike said, congratulations to All Hallows Eve for getting on the Darkcast Network. It's a major accomplishment right there. Our main segment, as usual, is brought to you by Newsly.
Newsly is an all-in-one audio super app for iOS and Android. It picks up the most trending articles on the web on topics you choose at any given moment and reads them to you in a natural human voice. For the first time ever, the entire web becomes listenable, all in one place. Follow any topic from sports, tech, business, science, even Bitcoin. It will find you the latest articles and read them to you aloud. And they have podcasts as well. Explore trending podcasts from over 80 countries. Our podcast is there too. Download and use Newsly for free now from www.newsly.me or from the link in the description, and use the promo code ANDFERMENT to receive a 1-month free premium subscription. Stop scrolling, start listening.
Newsly!
Copy. So our main segment this evening, as I said at the beginning of the show, is most paused movie scenes. And it's funny when
Can we take a minute just to appreciate the conversion of analog to digital media in terms of movies? Because trying to pause that sucker on analog, man, was that tough. I mean, it really, the flicker of the screen, sometimes you missed it.
On the old VHS tapes.
And then we go on DVD and it's frame by frame by frame.
You know, what's talking about the analog too with the VHS tapes is if you did the rewind, fast forward, and pause enough times, it started to wear the tape out. And then it became very obvious when watching the video where you were pausing it. What's the scene in Stranger Things season 4? Like, she paused at 1 hour and 50 minutes. If you're pausing at 1 hour and 50 minutes in Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Got a new drink
These are
there, Mike.
movies. I went to the Orange Smash.
Hmm.
So
I like the orange smash.
I need to get you two guys over here again so you guys can try the bourbon one. I still have one bourbon one left, and it's
Bourbon
calling my
Smash.
name. Yeah.
I have that. I have that raspberry porter thing that I told Kev I was saving for him.
Yeah.
That's still sitting in my fridge.
And I
have
got
that- I have
something.
that
I got a
here
couple
today.
things in my fridge.
Yeah, you guys.
I got a. That's your big boy. But I'd really like
to.
to do that with a fire pit. I think that needs to be probed.
Giggity. So our main segment this evening is most paused movie scene. And it's funny, when I was doing the research for this, for the most paused movie scenes, it's amazing how many of the paused movie scenes are like, nude.
Yeah.
I had to get like specific in the search in order to get things that weren't just like nude scenes. So I had to be like most paused moments in horror films, like most paused moments in films that don't involve sex. Like,
Yeah, but you did horror films. That could be a lot of nude scenes too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I managed to to split it up into 3 segments here. And as I said at the beginning of the show, there were a lot of movies, so we're not going to get to all of them. I'm going to mention a few bonus ones at the end, but they're probably ones we'll save for like another episode later to kind of delve in a little bit deeper. But I broke it into 3 categories. Did I just see that? Which is basically like a category for films that don't really fall into the other 2 categories, so like sci-fi and comedy and things like that. The second category is nightmare fuel. So these are all pause scenes from horror films. And the last one is pretty self-explanatory. Boobies, butts, and dongs. Oh my.
Oh my.
So for those of you watching on YouTube, I'm going to share my screen right now so that I can show you guys the
Boobies.
pause scene.
Boobies.
Yeah. So let me know if you guys see what I'm showing here.
Yes. No, I have it on 2 screens.
you have it up on your screen too.
Yeah, I have it.
So I'm sharing with you my screenshots from some of the films that I picked out for these different categories. So starting with, did I just see that? And right off the bat, hopping into one of my favorite films of all time and one of my favorite bloopers that just happened to make it into the film. Star Wars Episode 4, the Stormtrooper bumps his head.
So, aren't stormtroopers supposed to be all the same size?
Aren't you, I bet he wishes he was a little short for a stormtrooper.
I was gonna say, yeah, I ain't a little short for a stormtrooper.
It's those blast doors, those blast doors. They either jam up or they don't open or whatever.
Open the blast doors.
Open the blast doors.
Mm-hmm. Now, what I really would have liked is if that stormtrooper had made it into episodes 5 and 6, and you could tell it was the same stormtrooper from having an indentation in the helmet. I think that would have been awesome. A nice little Easter egg, Yeah.
So we have, and it's funny. I said this earlier during the pre-show. Like once you see that,
you just went psychedelic, man.
You went psychedelic on us. Yeah, we got all sorts of
it's all
shit going on
transparent, and there's shadowing and.
Okay, let me stop sharing and redo that then. I was trying to do this because there's a way of sharing it where I could still see your faces on the screen.
I see all your faces on the screen on the top. Yeah.
So let me do it window-wise.
Window.
Maybe you need to invest in another monitor.
Is that better?
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
There we are. They're back.
There we go. So that was that one. And I said, once you see that, you can't unsee it. Every time I watch a movie now, I specifically speak to that scene. Keeping in line with Star Wars, we have Star Wars Episode 1, Senator E.T. And I know the picture's a little dark there probably, but that is
there.
The Senate seat during I think this is the scene where they take out the Chancellor and name Palpatine the acting Chancellor. And
a vote of no confidence.
Vote of no confidence in Chancellor Valorum. And there you have the ETs, who are apparently senators in the Galactic Senate. Whereas Lucas has said they're called the Grellbergs or something like that. They have like a weird.
It's Spielberg spelled backwards.
It's Spielberg spelled backwards. Yeah.
Yes, that's the name of their race, and it all goes back to the original ET when ET saw Yoda and waddled up and said, "Home, home, home."
Yes.
Next one I got here. I have Fight Club. Every time Tyler Durden appears in the flashback, I couldn't really pick out a picture, for that one because there's just so many moments where it's both Tyler Durden and the narrator character that Ed Norton plays. But if you watch at the very end of the film, they do that little flashback sequence where he thinks about all the moments where he saw Tyler, and it's just like him by himself, like hitting himself or doing whatever. But then there are moments. Go ahead, Kev.
Good. I was just going to say, when you put this up, I thought, oh, he must mean the scenes where it was the one frame in the movie that people tried to like pause it right when the Tyler popped up in that frame.
That's what I was just about to say. That there's a lot of that in the film where like either Tyler Durden's popping up in like single frames, or there's something else like spliced in there, because there is I could have put this on the boobies, butts, and dongs list too, because at the very, very end of the film, right as the buildings are blowing up, there's a single frame of a dick that pops up on the screen and then pops off again. And it's like, it's one of those ones like you got to pause it to catch it because it's a single frame, so it happens real fast. Then I have Deadpool 2.
Tyler's Return.
So long, Vanisher. We hardly knew you. As, of course, the Brad Pitt cameo.
If you didn't pause it, you couldn't see that it's Brad Pitt. It was so quick.
Is he coming back for the next Deadpool like Wolverine is?
He's dead. Vanisher. Don't you remember the scene after that is his burnt corpse falling to the ground in the background? I just loved it. Like, you don't see him because he's the Vanisher, and then the one time you see him, it's like one of the most recognizable stars in Hollywood, just doing a solid. It's in the look on his face too.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember like seeing like the behind the scenes footage for this, and it's like him doing different faces to try to get the right one for it. And here's a good one: 3 Men and a Baby, The Ghost Boy.
Ghost Boy.
I remember when this came out, how like, because now we're talking like, well before
87, 88.
Well, we're talking well before the internet. So what you
Right.
have is a rumor that gets spread by word of mouth, basically, and takes on a life of its own. No pun intended. And just becomes this like urban legend story about this boy that jumped off the building, and now he haunts the room where the movie was being filmed. And then anybody know the real story?
Well, I'm seeing right here, it says, when Jack's mother comes to visit Mary, played by Lisa Blair, you can see in the background what appears to be a little boy standing in the doorway.
Mm-hmm.
There's a rumor that this is the ghost of a little boy who died in the apartment in which the film was shot. This rumor is false, as the interiors were all shot on a soundstage in a movie studio. The quote-unquote ghost is actually a cardboard cutout of Jack wearing a tuxedo. This prop appeared later in the movie when Mary's mother comes to collect her.
Yeah, it's Ted Danson.
Yeah,
because Ted Danson's character is an actor, a film actor, and it's a cutout from one of the movies that he does later in the film.
I guess it's the what's it called, perspective. He looks much smaller and shorter, and
it also is so fast too.
Yeah, and honestly, you could have thought that was Steve Guttenberg.
Yeah.
The way he looks.
It looks like it's somebody with a ball cap on, not somebody in a tux.
I think he's wearing a top hat because he's got the tuxedo on. I think it's a top hat, so it's like not quite. I mean, although that could be Ted Danson's hair because he did have that bouffant.
Yeah, he could be in there. Yeah,
but
yeah, the Sam Malone. You went into the hairdresser and said, "I want the Sam Malone."
it's such a quick scene, and like, but when you sit here and you look at the still frame, it's easy to see that it's kind of two dimensional, whatever it is.
Yes.
Wizard of Oz, the pint-sized suicide.
That poor Munchkin.
I'm sorry, this looks like a shadow on a tree to me.
Again, this is very much pre-internet rumor mill shit.
Yeah. Yep.
So you had the rumor going around that there was a Munchkin who kills himself in the background of the Wizard of Oz. You see something swing by in the background, and if you pause it, it looks kind of like a body swinging by. But again, it's another story that was kind of confirmed to be false.
Yeah.
I believe the backstory was it's either a prop that fell in the background, or they had some live animals on the set, and I think it might have been like a bird that flew by or something like that. I know that there's a backstory to it. I don't remember off the top of my head what it was.
I'm checking now, but I don't think I'll find it enough time. We may just want to move on. Let's see.
I'm typing in Munchkin suicide. in the
and Dunkin' Donuts came up.
Oh no, it's actually like a lot of searches came up. The original hanging Munchkin scene from Wizard of Oz. Classic urban legend.
I shouldn't be laughing at that.
Yeah, I know, right? Dark comedy. Secret dead Munchkin myth explained. Here it is. Despite being regarded as great all the time, yada yada yada. Nefarious tall tales surrounding the movie is Loveler actor portraying a Munchkin hanging himself on set during the filming. The legend stems from a specific scene that takes place around 45 minutes in the movie. Blah blah blah. The silhouette is of a bird that was flying through the studio.
Crested crane.
It's a bird flying through the studio.
Yes. According to this, it says it was a crested crane stretching its wings. Several large birds have been allowed to wander the background to lend its appearance to the mysterious creatures lurking in the woods. And the crane is spotted in the background several times prior to the hanging scene. And there is something about the hanging Munchkin, and the bird didn't know the hanging Munchkin. It was purely coincidental that the bird and the hanging Munchkin shot that scene together. No, I'm sorry. I think I'm off base here.
Just a little.
They met in the commissary before
filming. They met in the commissary. They both went for the last powdered donut.
Next on my list of did I just see that is Captain America's shield in the original Iron Man film. So this is the scene where Tony is taking off the Iron Man suit after his first time using it, where Pepper walks into the scene and he's like, "Oh, come on, you've seen me doing stranger things than this." And very, very quickly in the background, you see what looks like the construction of the Captain America shield. I find it kind of odd that he's creating that shield when this is like prior to the Avengers Initiative.
Well, I gotta wonder. So I'm guessing the Cap shield disappeared off of the ship, right? In the first Avenger.
Yeah.
And this is probably, now that Cap has been thawed or whatever, maybe this is taking place at the same time. They're constructing a new one for him.
Well, I mean, okay, yeah, I guess that makes sense because Stark Industries was a weapon manufacturer at first. So maybe he was upgrading the shield for Captain America.
Wasn't the shield also supposed to be seen? It was a scene cut from the Incredible Hulk, but wasn't it also like something that you saw frozen in the ice in the Incredible Hulk, but they deleted that scene from the actual movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it actually appears in other films as well. Like there's the Captain America shield, I think, is one of the biggest Easter eggs in the Marvel and the MCU's like the original, pictures that they did.
Right.
This is the most specific one that I found, which was the shield. So again, there are way more paused scenes out there than these. These are just a few that I found for the "Did I Just See That" segment. So we're moving on now to Nightmare Fuel. And the first thing I have on the list is what my drink is named after, The Exorcist. and the face of
Captain Howdy.
Captain Howdy, or as his name says in the script, Pazuzu.
Pazuzu's pedals.
You look at it now, and it's just like a bad Halloween costume.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, a little bit of white makeup, some rouge under the eyes, some Austin Powers teeth.
It looks like it's
yeah,
between
baby.
Yeah.
You know what it actually looks like? It
What?
looks like it's between the Hobbit version and the Smeagol version.
Mm.
You know, he's in that transition still to becoming Gollum.
he's only like 300 years into the 500-year struggle.
Exactly.
I mean, this could have been a lot more terrifying if they had just put some demonic contacts on this. Everything else is kind of the shadow effect, the funky teeth. Throw some wicked contacts on him, and that would have been a lot scarier.
Well, what makes this creepy too is if you watch the film, it's similar to like the Fight Club thing because it's a single frame.
Yes.
And
it just kind of pops up.
Yeah, it's a blink and miss it kind of thing. So it is kind of like one of that. Did I just see that sort of thing? And so like you really have to capture it at the right moment to get the picture that I have here. I had to do some searching to find this because there were some like pretty grainy photos. This is one of the better quality ones that I found. You could actually see the fake dentures kind of slipping out of his mouth. Pazuzu, Captain Howdy. Which is creepier, Captain Howdy or Pazuzu?
Captain Howdy, I think.
Calling my demonic possession Captain Howdy.
I mean, if they were able to get those funky contacts on Reagan, on Linda Blair,
I know,
they definitely
right?
could have thrown them on him.
Mm-hmm. Okay. My second piece of nightmare fuel. The first time you see the alien at the birthday party video in the movie Signs.
Yeah,
that real quick. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely one of those holy shit, and it's a great scene with Joaquin Phoenix because he's watching it on TV in the closet or whatever he's hiding in, and he sees it and he's like, "Oh my god!" And I saw Signs in the theater, and the reaction from the crowd was the same as Joaquin Phoenix's reaction in the film. It was one of those really, really, really cool like in-person crowd moments where everybody was like, "Holy shit!" And then it went all downhill from there.
Yeah, and then there's the ending, and you get a closer look at the thing. And it's like it's a green gorilla,
and or you can't get over the fact that they're allergic to water, but they live on the fucking Earth.
Yeah,
where 75% of the planet is liquid.
I can pee on it and it would die.
That would have been the better twist ending instead of beating the shit out of him with a baseball bat. If they knock him on the ground, take a piss on him. So I know you guys haven't seen this movie. It's one of my favorite horror films. It's actually a horror comedy. It's Cabin in the Woods. And the premise of the film is it's one of those tropes where it's like the 5 kids going to a cabin and they all get murdered by some like monstrous creature.
Right.
But the twist is that it's all part of a ritual to keep these ancient gods happy so that they don't destroy the earth. And so it keeps cutting away from the kids in the cabin to these people working in this like office building where they're trying to control the situation. And one of the things is that the kids in the cabin have to choose how they're going to be murdered. And they do so by playing with like these objects that they find in the cabin. And the objects will release one of the beasts on this this whiteboard that you see in the picture. And they're having an office pool to see which creature is going to end up killing the kids.
Oh God.
And so if you pause it, you can see like the different creatures that they could possibly have attacking them, from werewolf to alien beast to mutants, wraiths, zombies, reptilians, clowns, witches, sexy witches, demons, the Hell Lord, the angry molesting tree, which is from Evil Dead, the giant snake,
goblins.
Yes, the
is this
Deadites.
a Sam Raimi?
This is a Joss Whedon film.
Oh,
yeah. Joss Whedon's a big fan of Sam Raimi, so there's like a lot of throwbacks to that. Kevin, which is actually Elijah Wood's character from Sin City. The Mummy, The Bride, the Scarecrow, a snowman. I would love to see the Killer Snowman.
Mm-hmm.
Dragon Bat, vampires, dismemberment goblin, sugar plum fairy. The sugar plum fairy is fucking frightening. You see the sugar plum fairy in the movie. The merman, the reanimated dead, the unicorn, the Huron, the Sasquatch, Wendigo or Yeti, killer dolls, killer doctors, zombie redneck torture family, jack o' lantern, giants, and twins.
Oh God.
And so it's funny. So the one that actually ends up getting picked is the zombie redneck torture family. And in this scene, this woman here is going, "But I had zombies." He goes, "Yes, but it's zombie redneck torture family." She goes, "Well, what's the difference?" He goes, "Two different species. It's like the difference between an elephant and an elephant seal." It really is. It's a really funny movie that has some really cool like horror tropes in it. You got a great performance from Richard Jenkins in the film. It's one of Chris Hemsworth's first movies. He plays one of the kids in the cabin.
Mhm.
It's a really funny movie, and a lot of like Josh Whedon regulars are in it, like some of the actors from like Angel and Buffy and all that. Cool movie if you ever get a chance to see it. Psycho is the next one I have here, and it's the skeletal frame, which is the very end of the movie
Yeah.
after Norman Bates has been captured, and he's doing his little monologue in the voice of the mother.
Well, think about how long after that movie was made until you could actually pause it to see it. There was no pausing back in the day.
Well, you had stepped away to get another drink, and Kevin and I were kind of talking about that, like analog versus DVD. Like, how hard
Mhm.
was it to like pause that scene back when you had to do the VHS tapes? And it was like you had to
Yeah.
rewind, fast forward, pause, rewind, fast forward, pause, and eventually you wear the tape out. Yeah, you
Then
saw.
you got the pause play in slow mo.
Yeah, that was cool when slow mo first came out.
Yeah.
Now, but yeah, like you said, like if you saw this back in the theater in the '60s, it was probably one of those. Wait, did I just see what I saw moments?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's also like
20
the little
years later, you get to pause it.
yeah, but it's not a great picture. I was had it's another like still shot I had a hard time finding, but you can kind of see like the outline of the skeleton around his lips there. So one that I wanted to include, but I forgot to, Kev, was the one that you had said from Insidious, which
Mhm.
is the red demon that appears behind Patrick Wilson in that one scene.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's a good one, but it's definitely one we can save for later because we're
Yeah.
probably going to end up having to do a second one of these at some point anyway.
Mhm. It's and yeah. Well, we'll talk about it the next time. I just
Yeah,
love the way it's revealed, the camera movement.
it is one of the best ones. One of the best
Mhm.
like it's a jump scare moment and a pause the video moment at the same time.
Mhm.
So that takes us to our final category of the evening.
The category everybody thought this whole episode
Yes,
was going to be
that's
about.
kind of what it was going to be like if I didn't do some more like specific searching. Boobies, butts, and dongs. Oh
That's
my!
what my wife was saying. She goes, I said, we're doing pause moment. She goes, oh, so you're doing boobies on screen.
Oh wait,
I said, not just boobies. She goes, oh, bits too. I said, no.
Katie.
No.
Katie said the.
You're just Sharon Stone.
Mhm.
Well,
That's all she said.
Katie
She
said
didn't know that one.
Katie and I was like, what's your subject this week? I said we're doing most pause scenes in movie history, and she goes, oh, like Phoebe Cates coming out of the pool in Ridgemont High. I said, yeah, exactly, like Phoebe. I was like, that was like the inspiration for the episode. Like that's Phoebe Cates' legacy. Like,
And that's why she's no longer in acting.
I know she's no longer an actress. But yeah, so boobies, butts, and dongs. Oh my! Starting with Dirk Diggler reveals his wiggler. So this is the final scene of Boogie Nights. I had to blur it out for YouTube. It is, of course, a prosthetic penis.
Not according to Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, Mark Wahlberg would have you believe he has a 12-inch dong, but it's prosthetic. But it's the very final scene of the film. He pulls his dick out and he goes, I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. I'm a star. Then puts it back in his pants and walks away. And it is such a weird scene. And it's like you kind of wait for it because like the whole movie is about him becoming a porn star and how big his dick is and all that, and it's like so you have to think at some point or another you're going to see it in the movie, and even after you see it, it's kind of still like a shocking scene. Wait, so my mom and dad saw that movie. I remember my mom's reaction was like, I couldn't believe they showed it. and I said to her, I said, Ma, it was fake. It wasn't real. It was a prosthetic,
Bless her heart.
It was special effects, like the Mugwai and Gremlins. It was a puppet.
It had pistons going and the whole nine yards.
It's like the alien popping out of William Hurt's or out of John Hurt's stomach. An alien. It's like
there was hydraulics involved.
Can you imagine here if the dong scene involved the dong like popping up and singing "Hello, my darling"?
Penis
hello,
puppetry.
my baby. Hello, my darling. Hello, my ragtime doll. Send me a kiss, my wife. My heart's on fire. All right, let's get to something a little more fun, like the gratuitous beaver shot in, in Basic Instinct.
Yeah.
Apparently, Paul Verhoeven like tricked Sharon Stone into doing that scene.
Yes, she was not happy with this.
It was kind of like you're not really going to see anything, and so the picture I have on the screen here is actually from the movie Loaded Weapon with Emilio Estevez. He's interrogating Kathy Ireland, who's playing the Sharon Stone character, and when she spins around in a chair, there's a beaver sitting in it, and it says "gratuitous beaver shot" on the screen. So,
yeah, I think I'd rather see Kathy Ireland.
Well, that's Kathy Ireland's beaver right there. So it's Sharon Stone's spread leg scene that she was tricked into doing, and but all these years later, she's kind of owned it now. At this point, she's like, it happened. I have the career I have now because of it. Yes, Basic Instinct, man, it's a weird movie.
Mm-hmm.
They did a second one a few years later.
It made a lot of men burying their ice picks in the backyard.
Boy, Michael, what's his name? Michael Douglas made a career out of making movies about dating crazy chicks, didn't he?
He did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, Ant-Man and the Wasp.
He was also in that one with Debbie Moore.
Disclosure.
Yeah.
Disclosure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Romancing the Stone.
Jewel of Nile.
Jewel of Nile.
Although that's a little less.
Word of the Roses.
That's another crazy wife one, yeah. But that's also Kathleen Turner, Word of Roses.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Here we go. The one that expired the whole episode. Hello, Phoebe Cates.
Hello.
The 80s. Where teen sexuality was no biggie.
You got to include a boob scene if it's a teenage 80s movie.
It's a teen comedy. Where are the titties?
It doesn't have to be a teen comedy. Remember Airplane?
Yeah. Remember Airplane, Porky's, Revenge of the Nerds, Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Teen Wolf.
Even Ghostbusters had a ghost BJ scene.
It did.
But yeah, we go Phoebe Cates, man. Talk about an 80s crush.
Mm-hmm.
American Pie. Oh, Nadia.
Not as good as Phoebe Cates.
I don't know. I think Shannon Elizabeth could have gave her a run for her money in the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just talking about the shot.
Yeah, dude, this was impossible to find an edited shot of. Like, Jesus. I was like, man, my Google search history over the last 2 days.
Yeah, man, your algorithm is going to be
my algorithm's all over the place right now, especially after.
Please tell me you weren't doing this at work.
No, come on. Especially after researching censored pictures of Margot Speaking of censored pictures of Margot Robbie, thank God for Margot Robbie.
Oh my lord!
So I have two scenes for her from Wolf of Wall Street. There's this shot here, which is the first date she has with Jordan Belfort, which is the Leonardo DiCaprio character, and she walks out of the bedroom full frontal nudity. And I remember her talking on a talk show about it, about how she went to the premiere of the film with her parents and didn't tell them about this scene.
Oh wow!
But this is the scene that shot her to superstardom. And then there's a scene later in the film here where she's teasing him in their kid's bedroom, and she supposedly has no underwear on, and she's like spreading her legs and then he shows her that there's a security camera above that's recording them and all that, and you don't really see anything in that scene, but it hasn't stopped people from pausing it trying to see something. I'm like, what, you need that here? You got plenty of that here. So. Margot Robbie. The next one is Who Framed Roger Rabbit. So, Kev, you want to explain this one for us? Because I wasn't able to find the picture for it.
Yes, so it's the scene when Eddie Valiant and Jessica Rabbit are returning from Toontown, right? And they're in pursuit of the judge. And little do they know that he's waiting on the other side of this long tunnel. He kicks over a barrel of, was it dip?
Yep.
Is that something right? Dip, right? Dip. And the dip burns the tires of the taxi. Why can't I think of the taxi's name right now? I can't think of the taxi's name. But anyway, burns his tires, and he goes spinning, causing the taxi to hit a pole, and then Valiant and Jessica fly out. Now, as she flies out, she is flying out in a seated position, but the legs are slightly open, and supposedly, as animators were known to do in the 80s, they snuck in a little, little hi, how you doing? A little hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And that's what was supposedly seen. Supposedly. I mean, this is all that hearsay. I've never looked into it personally myself.
Yeah, I know. I've never looked into it myself either, and I couldn't really find a picture of it to use for this. So the picture I chose is the first time she goes to see Eddie Valiant in his office, and she says, "I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way."
I just don't want it to ruin my childhood.
Yeah, right.
Lose that sense of innocence.
Yes, that sense of innocence, like watching Phoebe Cates getting out of a pool.
That's right.
Benny the Cab.
Benny, that was it. Benny the Cab.
I like Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Watching White Snake videos. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. I like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. I think it's a great movie. One of Bob Hoskins' best roles. Who Framed Roger Rabbit? Total Recall, the original, the good Total Recall.
Three's Company two.
Three's a crowd. Three's a crowd unless they're boobies. I just watched this recently, just for shits and giggles.
I'm thinking it's Three's Company now. It's hers and his.
Three's Company too. I think the scene when the cab driver got. Speaking of Benny the Cab Driver in Total Recall.
Stereotype
is he's feeling her up, and she's like, "What do you think?" And he's like, "I wish I had 3 hands." And that's an iconic scene, man. Another Paul Verhoeven insanity fest. And this is the last one I have on here: the 7-Year Itch, where an icon is born. The very famous Marilyn Monroe standing over the grate while the wind blows her dress up scene. Yeah. So iconic. It was one of the.
You had to wait for VHS to come out to actually pause it.
Unless you're like Andy Dufresne and you had the poster hanging up in your cell in Shawshank Redemption.
True enough.
So that was my list there. It's a pretty good list, I thought. Just for some kicks, I have a few others. we can talk about these on the second part of this episode when we decide to do that. The Bishop's Boner and the Little Mermaid.
Mm-hmm.
The appearance of the word sex in the air in The Lion King, apparently.
Yep.
This one's a good one. The Guardians of the Galaxy. It's trying to see all of the things that the Collector has in his menagerie on the planet Nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, you can see the space dog, Howard the Duck. There's a dark elf, a frost giant, all these other things. Apparently, the horse head in the bed in The Godfather is a very paused scene.
Huh.
I
I guess
never.
people are trying to figure out if it was actually real or not.
Yeah, I guess because I mean it was real, but I guess
Yes.
I don't know. I guess so. In the Men in Black movies, there's always the aliens in disguise on the TV screens.
Yep.
So I
Yep.
remember in the first one, like Sylvester Stallone was one of the aliens. And this is a funny one. Something about Mary. Scene where
The beans above the Franks.
yeah,
How'd you get the
not
beans above the Franks?
The Franks. Oh,
Yeah. Ben Stiller gets his junk caught in his zipper.
yeah,
And,
no shit.
One of Marky Post's best roles.
Yeah, you get a real quick glimpse of his balls. And then, yeah, and that's Keith David who has the line that's such a fucking funny line where he's like, "How the hell did you get the beans above the Frank?" There's so many movies that I have to rewatch that I haven't seen in so long. That's probably one of them.
That's what
Oh, that's
summers
much
are
pizza I
for.
haven't
That's what
watched it.
summers
Boy,
are
we
for.
watch
Yeah.
shit.
That is our list for this evening. If you have any suggestions out there of scenes that we should include the next time around, we're not doing this next week. We'll do this sometime in the future. But we would still like to hear your suggestions out there for some pause movie scenes that we should include. Michael, do you have any beer wisdom for us this evening?
That's some beer trivia for you boys.
That sounds good. I have to change that on the notes.
Yeah, because I think that's probably. Because I think that's all I have is trivia now. Prior to craft brewing, American beer was known to most people around the world as thin, very pale lager, now referred to as American Standard Lager. This refreshing beverage was light in flavor as well as in color, since it was made with 30 to 50% rice and or corn. Beers like Bud Light, and Michelob are still made this way and are still very popular with a lot of Americans. Ironically, many of the craft brewers who once disdained the style have recognized the skill required to brew a good one and now make their own versions. There you go, boys.
So, how are your drinks this evening, gentlemen?
Excellent.
Between the two, I prefer my cold snap over the golden pilsner, but both were okay.
I definitely put too much lime juice in my drink because it's pretty much all I tasted. When a drink contains tequila and blue curacao, and all you taste is lime juice, you put in way too much lime.
You
juice.
put in too much.
Yeah, way too much.
Otherwise, it was okay.
Good.
I feel pretty good. So thank you for joining us tonight for episode 90, most paused movie scenes. So thanks again for joining us for episode 90, most paused films in movie history. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget to send us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com. Again, please send us your suggestions. You can visit us at linktree.com/filmsandfermentation to find all of our social media and podcast links. If you'd like to support the show, remember you can buy our merchandise at teespring.com, or you can become a patron at Patreon. Don't forget to stop by the crossroads between pickled and fermented next week for episode 91. Next week, we're going to be talking about black and white films. And what we're going to be doing next week is each of us is going to choose our 5 favorite black and white movies and discuss why we like them and if they are classic or modern or whatnot. But movies where color doesn't matter. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
Mike.
Don't forget to pick out your favorite paused scene for this podcast if you're watching us on YouTube. It's usually the scenes where Kevin's showing off the pretty.
Kevin brings the pretty.
Cheers,
right.
everybody.
Cheers.
Cheers.
See y'all later. We start recording, and we can get started whenever you guys are ready.
Hey, I'm ready to.
You like how I broke this up into segments for the pause scenes?
Yeah.
Did I just see that nightmare fuel and boobies, butts, and dongs? Oh my! Because there is one big dong in that series of films. And I don't know if you guys clicked on it or not, but the main segment has a link to another document that is all the pause scenes. So
Yeah,
I did screenshots of the different scenes because I'm going to bring them up on Glip while we're talking about them, so that they'll be on the YouTube channel.
Fight Club didn't come up.
Yeah,
Fight Club. Well, Fight Club. I didn't put any pictures down there because I said it's every time Tyler Durden appears on the screen, so there was too many pictures to like put down there for it.
Mm.
And then for like things like the boobies, butts, and dongs, I did the blurred out version for some of them. It was really hard to find a blurred out Margot Robbie full frontal nude scene from Wolf of Wall Street.
Do you really want to blur that out?
And your censor strips are just enough.
Just enough, yeah. Just enough for YouTube to not kick us off. I didn't do that. I found that picture. I was like, I'm probably the only person in the world who just Google searched Margot
Censor.
Robbie full frontal nude censor.
He wanted to see a censored one.
So
What is
the
wrong with you?
the Jessica Rabbit one, we're talking about her being propelled from the car, right?
Yeah, I couldn't find like one that really like worked well, so I just picked like that picture
fine.
there is the first time you see her in the show. So
Right.
I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way.
Yeah, and that's what that scene is. I'm not bad. I'm just drawn that way. So I thought that was okay. Just do that one. I got to bring up this document so I can have it ready. What is it? Most paused movie scenes. Where are you?
It's funny. I was listening to. I don't know whether it's Mojo or something. It's a channel I subscribe to on YouTube, and Watch Mojo, and they were talking about the things that are revealed that you see in the Star Wars movies, but you don't notice them until like many, many, many years after the movie comes out, and the whole ET thing was brought up. So
yeah, I always liked the ET thing. I thought that was like a funny one.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right, I'm ready to go now.
We didn't do the Star Wars. Let's pause the Han shot first.
Well, that's not really. It's hard to pause a scene where that much is going on. the stormtrooper bumping his head. Once you know it happens, you can't unsee it. So it's like a very noticeable thing every time you watch the movie now. So I'm ready when you guys are.
Do it.